welcome, welcome. Sorry for starting the stream a little late, guys. Had to do troubleshooting as per usual. That does just seem to be the seem to be the standard, I guess. I don't know. You've always got something going on that you kind of need to go and check on at the last second, of course, it seems like. But I got it sorted out, and we're gonna get it started here. We're just gonna be doing the beginner's Dom replays that I got yesterday. I've got a few more that I definitely do need to drop down into my replay folder, so I'm gonna do that while the game is booting up. Y'all can watch the opening cinematic. You know, it's really pretty good for the for old Total Warhammer 3 here. So yeah, once we're done with the beginner tournament replays that I've got here, we are gonna be I'm gonna download Space Marine 2, and then I will pop in. Oh gracious, gotta rename some of these. I'll download Space Marine 2, and we'll be starting that up, and I'll just do a separate stream. There's no preload, which I didn't know, so I'll need to just download it and not be streaming while that's going on. It'll probably just suck up all the bandwidth, which is going to be very annoying, but whatever. It is what it is. That's the way of things, I guess.
Use it in service.
Alright. I'm going to jump in here and take a peek around and make sure I didn't get any other replays sent to me. I would like to cover all of the ones available if possible. We got a couple of non tournament ones in here. I'm gonna download them anyways, and probably cover a couple of them. Make like just little videos out of them. That's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. But for the purposes of right now, let's go ahead and start jumping in here. I'm gonna have to take a second to make sure that I'm looking at all the right stuff. Phoenix Blazes, Mr. Pickles, Falling Star, Scrambled Egg. I'm going to delete all the ones that I've already done. If there's any other ones in here... Oh, I need to do that. So, that's new. I think this is where the replays begin. So let me just let me go double check and see if I can get this kind of going in order. Cast versus Chorfs, Wood Elf's Corn, Corn Empire, Vampire's Corn. Okay. That is okay, and that's that. Alright, here we go. I think I've got it set up. So we're gonna jump in here and we'll get the old replays rolling. I appreciate those of you who are here. Thank you for showing up. We've got some Fast and Furious new player games incoming, And then we'll be doing something a little different after that, so. Without further ado, we're starting off with Skarbrand, the Exiled, versus Impenetrable. Really love that name. Skarbrand, obviously, just as great. And Crystal Lake, it's going to be Khorne versus Wood Elves. This can be a pretty tough matchup for Khorne. I talked about it a little bit yesterday. Towards the end of stream, we were reading one of the guides on the Total Tavern website. And we were talking about mobility. We were talking about the whole macro versus micro split in terms of like what the game requires. And, you know, I was talking about how, in terms of mobility and actual, like, gameplay, Wood Elves have a bit of an advantage over Khorne at all times, you know. Obviously, the Deepwood Scouts and Way Watchers and stuff like that, they're just so damn strong. And Khorne lacks ranged options to counter. So you're very reliant on silver-shielded infantry and then, your stuff like Flesh Hounds, Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights are great in this matchup. Skull Cannons, if you're bold enough to bring them. This isn't the best matchup for Skull Cannons, but, you know, they can do a little bit here for sure. So, it can get a little tricky at times. If the Wood Elf player knows what they're doing, they can typically out-trade you in the right circumstances. We'll see what Skarbrand can do here against Pep. Got the Glade Lord on the stag here. Very cool. Such a fun modelry. Armor piercing with crazy melee stats on this thing. Okay armor as well. So I mean, probably one of the best mounts for this Lord. Other than the dragon, obviously the dragon is incredibly powerful, but is very expensive. So this is the cost-effective option that gives you a lot of flexibility. Prey of Anothrema and Arrows of Kurnus, both great abilities here. Good for sniping down artillery and doing a little bit of damage to a variety of targets in the form of arrow. Hitting Valkia and getting a little bit of poke in there for sure. Not doing a ton, but taking about 400 health off of her is no joke. And could pop Prey of Anothrema here and move the Hawkeyes of Jakira up. That's very worth it in this situation. They're just out of range. Or they should be just out of range. I mean, these guys have 190. So if you scooted up there and popped Prey right in that moment, you could probably do a nasty amount of work against Valkia, who is getting quite beat up. She's lost about 1,000 health right now. But I think it's kind of worth it just to scout your opponent's army. And we've got Ariel coming out. That's going to be the first summon out for Pep here, which I like. Ariel's a very solid choice. She's pretty tough. She's got decent combat stats. She is a large target, so Valkia is pretty good against her. But not that Valkia isn't good against the Glade Lord on the reindeer here. Nice shot, man. Really accurate shooting from the Glade Lord here. He's got 418 value. Just slowly chipping away at Valkia there. And Ariel moving up a little bit. It's going to be a little tricky for Pep here, though. The front line is pretty thin. There are some Wild Riders and great Stag Knights out on the field as well, though. So those are going to be a little bit more reliable for securing some of these objectives out here. The number 3 is going to swing for the Wood Elves here in a moment. The Eternal Guard are looking to get a little bit aggressive against these Chosen, which is not the safest idea. I mean, Chosen have just incredible stats, 58 and 58 as long as their Frenzy is up. They've got 52 weapon strength, and that is going to absolutely roll these Eternal Guard, who only have 26 melee attack. They're really not going to do a lot in return against the Chosen. The best thing to do if you're running up into Chosen in this matchup and you don't have anything like Blade Singers to deal with them, you stack, like Treekin or something on top of the Eternal Guard, and they'll just hold forever. That's the best way to deal with the Eternal Guard. if you can't outright shoot them down with the Way Watchers. Oh man, this Tempest, man, rolling Valkia up in the sky here. She's taking nasty volleys from the Way Watchers here, the Hawkeyes of Drakira and the standard variant, putting her down to 1,200 health in the opening here. Pep has done a pretty good job of targeting Valkia down, but the Minotaurs with great weapons down here on the low ground get a little bit of damage in on the Wild Riders, but they do get microed back pretty effectively, which is a good call. Deepwood Scouts here have taken a bit of a pounding. Not sure from what exactly. Getting a little over overeager. So, oh, the Chaos Warhounds got in here, so that's not bad. Getting a little bit of value on a very expensive missile piece, and a force multiplier in the form of the Deepwoods is honestly really nice. Would be up in the trees here, and then spring out as needed, but Pep is playing very cautiously off of the points right now. And Skarbrand is doing a good job of accruing that points lead. It is getting pretty substantial here. I mean, up to 500 already at this stage of the game. Pep really needs to push out and capture one of these points. Wild Riders and the Stag Knights do charge into the Marauders here, but take a nasty counter charge from the Minotaurs here. But really good focus fire with the Hawkeyes of Drakira to get the discouraging missile attacks on top of these guys. You can see just how much their leadership is tanking here. And the Minotaurs are broken, man. That's pretty bad for Khorne here. Gonna lose the number 3. Should just pull back anyways. Pep is rallying with the Furies here. Or rallying up under the Furies. Marching in with them. Prey of Nothrama, Tempest being popped, but more Fleshhounds. Really good dive here by Skarbrand, just layering up the variety of units to pressure here, and just staying with the attack, and keeping the units spread out so that they all don't get caught at once. Good smoke bomb, though, from Pep to, you know, slow up these Chaos Furies who are about to break here. The discouraging effect, man. I'm telling you, Hawkeyes of Drakira are crazy against Khorne. If you don't just break leadership and cause a ton of crumbling, then at the very least you're forcing them to lose their Frenzy, which is almost, no, well, maybe not almost as bad, but it is pretty punishing. Khorne, you know, one of the big selling points of the mark here, as you can see, Frenzy passive ability. Losing Frenzy really, really hurts. So, I like the addition of the Hawkeyes. They are getting beat up a little bit, though, in the forest here. Furies have great melee attack, even without the Frenzy active, so they're getting a little bit of work done here against this very elite and expensive missile unit. But the Furies take a shot in the face in melee combat and immediately crumble out, so very painful. I'm not a huge fan of Furies in this matchup. I think they're a little too squishy. Their leadership, they've only got 50 leadership, and I think that you're better served bringing other mobility options. I think Chaos Knights are pretty good here. Minotaurs are okay. They can be a little risky. They're a risk-reward type unit in this matchup for sure. They've got great armor-piercing values. They do a lot of shock damage, and they can fight just about everything on the Wood Elf roster effectively. And they counter Treekin very, very well, which is pretty important. But they, you know, they can get beat down by Wild Riders on the charge. Stag Knights are pretty good against them. And they obviously suffer pretty heavily at the hands of the ranged units that the Wood Elves can bring out.
The enemy has captured one of your victory points. Take it back.
So Skarbrand with a huge ticket lead here. Pep just now jumping in on the number 3 objective. Throwing another, excuse me guys. Still rallying myself out of my deep slumber. Deepwood Scouts did get jumped on top of by the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes. Another great unit in this matchup. They have the flaming ammunition to do extra damage against the Treekin variants and against Dryads. They can do really good work there. And they're also good at counterfiring Blade Singers. And then once they're out of ammo, they just go in, they just get a good charge off. They've got a crazy charge bonus and weapon strength. So they can do some really good damage against the low-armored infantry that the Wood Elves have access to. Great Stag Knights being dealt with by just a plurality of targets. You know, you've got some Fleshhounds here. The Marauders were throwing at them a little earlier, I saw, and the Chaos Warriors and Chosen doing their thing, man. You know, they're really holding up the advance of the Wood Elves here, taking a lot of damage from the missiles, but do have silver shields and mitigating just as much as they're taking, which is really nice there. Oh, and Fury's back here, man. Fury's just jumping all over the Way Watchers, just absolutely brutalizing them. Skarbrand doing a good job of staying on top of the pressure with those guys. You know, Furies can do work here. They can. They just tend to be a little temperamental. They're even more risk reward than the Minotaurs. I do like to bring 2 in this matchup, and you know, kind of use the Chaos Knights in addition to the Furies as the pressure into the backfield. You know, the Chaos Knights are just really durable, and they can hold up stuff like the Sylvan Knights and the Stag Knights and give a little bit of damage back in return, while the Furies go after the actual Way Watchers and such. But Pep taking a big loss on the nose there, honestly. Losing all of those Way Watchers and the Hawkeyes especially is really going to start to compound the lack of presence on the objectives here. The Wood Elves are very small in the opening build, and Pep has been throwing the Eternal Guard in a little unsupported over the course of this game. The Sword of Khorne comes in and nails the Eternal Guard. Oh my god, absolutely obliterates their health total. Doesn't kill a single model, though, funnily enough, so, you know. If it were on the table, Pep could pop a heal up on these guys, but too little too late. Khorne does take this game here in the opening going. A bit of a strange little game there. Pep didn't really seem to quite know what to do. Domination mode especially, and as a, you know, a player that's bringing, you know, this is kind of a kite build. Definitely at the very least like a skirmish-centric build. You've got the snares, you've got the missiles, you've got the Wild Rider and Stag Knight here, and then, you know, brought out a lot of very expensive pieces, so your army's pretty small, and this is a pretty immobile Khorne core. The best thing to do in this scenario, I think, is to just start hammering down the Chaos Warriors. Leave the Chosen. The Chosen did get into some serious combat here, as you can see. They got 1,900 and 1,400 value. I believe these guys were chewing on Ariel at the end, so grinding up some great value on her. But the best thing to do is hammer down the Chaos Warriors with the Stag Knights. And probably don't even need to bring in Ariel in the opening. For the first summon, I honestly think the Lost Sylvan Knights would be better, because they provide a little bit more punching power into the Chaos Warriors. And you can wear down the Chaos Warriors and use the Hawkeyes of Drakira and the Way Watchers, as well as these Deepwood Scouts and the Eternal Guard. Go grab an objective. If you grabbed that low ground objective, Pep, you could shoot up onto the high ground where Skarbrand had, you know, a bunch of forces. You know, the Eternal Guard, push everything together, take 1 point, get a little bit of a ticket, get some tickets under your belt, and don't let your enemy have a triple cap. That just gave you no time to work with your skirmishers in range play. And Skarbrand just slowly brought out all of the answers that were needed for the Way Watchers. And just dragged them down eventually. So playing a little bit more together with your army, taking one objective, and then using the Stag Knights that you had in the opening and in reserve here to really nail down the Chaos Warriors, while the Way Watchers and Deepwoods kind of punish the mobility of Khorne typically is how the Wood Elves are best served. You know, all of the ranged options here very heavily counter the lightly armored Furies, Warhounds, Fleshhounds, Minotaurs, throwing axes, even the Blood Shrine here. Hawkeyes of Jakira, despite not having magic damage, will just do disgusting work against the Blood Shrine. Wasn't out on the field long though, so it is what it is. Pretty well played. Skarbrand all over that game. Pep played that pretty decently in terms of value, but definitely made a few mistakes that cost them the game there. So, jumping right in to the next game, we've got Skarbrand versus Napes. Napes. Not 100% sure how to pronounce it, but if you're here, let me know. I'd love to hear the actual pronunciation. Give me a sec, guys. I'm slacking a little bit. I need to pull up chat here so that I can actually see y'all's beautiful, beautiful words. Way Watchers had no targets here. That's kind of true. Hawkeyes of Jakira always have a target because they, they reduce leadership by 16. I mean, that's frenzy on a lot of the Khorne roster. So the way you can use the Hawkeyes, even if they don't have the best target to shoot at per se, in the form of like unshielded armored stuff, they can just Nips or Nips. Okay, cool. So Nips. But anyways, the Hawkeyes of Jakira can just hit a Minotaur, tank their leadership, and just overwhelm them with mobility that can just hammer them with the charge bonuses, because Minotaurs do have low melee defense, and they can take some pretty nasty shock damage at times. The armor obviously helps them out, but it can't do everything. But anyways, we're moving on to the next game here. We've got Valkia up in the sky. We've got some Marauder dual weapons, which I do really like. We got the Hellforged Host. Hell yes, they're very cool. Love that. Another Exalted Bloodletter. I love the very aggressive infantry openings with Khorne. It is pretty reliable. You develop out all your infantry in the opening and just bring out all of the mobile stuff as you've been going. That's just how you've been saying it. Okay, fair enough, Teutonic. I hear you, man. Yeah, I'm going to be playing the multiplayer. Sorry about just catching the chat stuff. I was just so engrossed with the game, having a bit of a slow start. Is this single faction? It is a single faction tournament for the new player tourney. We've got an Iron Demon out here with Chaos Dwarf Great Weapons. The Chowie Great Weapons against a lot of Khorne units are gonna do pretty well, but against Exalted Bloodletters, it's gonna be an absolute massacre, man. The Exalted Bloodletters just have insane stats and are amazing at killing infantry, so these Chowie Great Weapons are going to suffer pretty hard, but the Infernal Ironsworn are going to do really nicely. They beat the Exalted Bloodletters, actually. They do take pretty catastrophic damage in the process, but just the fact that they beat Exalted Bloodletters is good enough, honestly. It's rare enough that you find that in an infantry unit. But Skarbrand's doing a great job of jumping on these guys and kiting away from the blasting charges before they get thrown. They're trying to find a new target, trying to throw at the dual weapons here. Not quite able to, though, which is very unfortunate. We've got the dual weapon warriors here. I believe Sleipnir got dropped on these guys, which was a pretty good cast of it, quite honestly. Oh no, Sleipnir's still in the bank here. So where is Skarbrand going to drop that? I'm not 100% sure. Man, oh man, the Marauder dual weapons just completely flattened the Dowie warriors there. And using the Minotaurs, jumping right on top of these Bull Centaur renders, they do get a really nice cascading fire cloak. Really well cast spell there. Gonna give these guys some extra melee defense and some weapon strength. So they're gonna do pretty nicely here, but the poor Infernal Ironsworn And Chaos Dwarf Warriors are just getting picked apart right now. Taking the fight a little bit too early in the Chaos Dowie. And losing this very elite infantry in the early going here is very punishing. When you see this number of Exalted Bloodletters as Chowie, and you don't have any ranged out on the field, Ironsworn beat them in a vacuum, but when they're getting swarmed like this, it's pretty much game over for them. They just can't deal with all that. So it would be nice to just tuck up in with the rest of the formation and try to value trade from there. You are trading fairly effectively, but the problem with that is that what's getting killed is all of the infantry, including these Bull Centaur renders, by the way. And what's going to happen when you're out of infantry, the triple cap is going to come in, exactly like Skarbrand has now, and all of the other targets that you've got that are doing well are going to slowly lose the ability to move about the battlefield and effectively deal with your enemy's infantry corps. Because Skarbrand has lost quite a few of the infantry here, but has more than enough here to be moving into the late game, including a pretty healthy Hellforged Host and some Exalted Bloodletters here. Any more Exalted Bloodletters out? One regular Bloodletter variant coming out. The other one does look like it's fighting here against the Infernal Ironsworn, so on a pretty good target. Pretty low, though. Probably not going to be able to outlast the Infernal Ironsworn here, who you can see doing absolutely swimmingly, despite the 3-on-1. Not very often that you find an infantry unit that can hold up against this kind of a swarm. But these guys out here, they didn't do nearly as well. Very unfortunate stuff. You can't lose a unit like that if you're playing against Khorne. You really need those elite infantry to be able to function as the anvil. While stuff like the Iron Demon has done handsomely for itself here, but it's going to start getting ground down here, would be my guess. Despite the value lead, I am not super confident in the Chaos Dowie position. More Infernal Ironsworn being taken offline here. They are about paying for themselves. That other one didn't, though. And despite the recontest on the number 2, the triple cap has been in for quite a while. This is quite a hole to find yourself in right now. Iron Demon getting on top of the Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, getting a little bit of damage on them is really nice. But these guys can outkite this thing, and they do throw their axes, as you can see, not quite in melee combat, but, you know, within a close proximity to an enemy unit. As long as a few of these guys are out of combat, most of the unit will throw, and they're getting some nice damage on this Iron Demon, while the Fleshhound's doing what they do best. This is a great use of Fleshhounds. This is a great call, Skarbrand, using these guys to try and stop the progress of the Iron Demon rolling around. It does have pretty crazy mass at 5,000, and the Hounds are only, what, 400 or 500? Yeah, 450. So they can only do so much against this thing, but you've gotten it slowed up enough to where you've done enough damage that the Marauder Horseman can just continue to chase and finish this thing off. And herein lies the end of the game, probably, for the Chaos Dowie. They've got just a handful of very busted up infantry over here. The Immortals are coming out, which is a really fun unit. I love the inclusion of these guys, but I'm not 100% confident that they'll be able to get through even these Chaos Demons here, who, despite their very beleaguered state, Exalted Bloodletters have great leadership. They've got, they actually don't have their Hellblade up, funnily enough, despite doing pretty good damage here. Really good value on all these guys so far. What I would do against the Immortals here is just break their charge with the dual weapons. And, yeah, you're doing it exactly right, Skarbrand's kind of getting on the flank of the Immortals here. And just swarming with the Marauders with a little bit of backup from the Bloodletters. And the Exalted Bloodletters can get in on the flanks there, exactly like you're doing, and they'll get the best weight out of their really heavy AP there. It's a bit of a shame they don't have Hellblade up. Hellblade gives them a huge boost in damage. They basically one-shot infantry models at that point. And just absolutely rip and tear, man. Good pop on the Horn of Khorne. Very important that you get good effect out of the army abilities. Khorne is very reliant on that, not having any access to magic, obviously. It does kind of function as your magic. Relentless Rage and Horn of Khorne are probably the two most consistent of the army abilities, but Sword of Khorne can do some pretty good work in the right circumstances. Astrogoth fighting down in the pits here. Very beaten up. Valkia has been working him down. He was fighting some Exalted Bloodletters and a blob there. Hellforged Host getting in to help finish this guy off, routing him, and that's definitely going to be GG at this point. Blazing Beards, very isolated out here fighting the Fleshhounds. You've done a really good job of maneuvering the Fleshhounds around the field so far, using them to tie down enemy units that they can't beat, but then bringing in, you know, throwing axes and other units to do the actual DPS that the Fleshhounds can't quite do against these heavily armored Chowie warriors. The Immortals did kill most of the infantry that they're fighting here, but this is exactly how you deal with an elite infantry unit. We'll pause it here, and we'll make we'll do a little bit of drawing on the battlefield here. So, what you've got going on is intercepting reinforcements, cutting off the elite infantry from any support here is a great call. The Immortals are going to beat just about everything here in a vacuum, and you don't want to give them any one-on-ones. So what you do, feed a cheap infantry unit into them exactly like you're doing here with the Marauders. Use the Marauder Horsemen on the flanks here where they're positioned, and they're helping hold the objective here away from the elite infantry. And they're also getting their missiles on target in a crossfire, so hitting two different sides of the unit where the throwing axes have a nasty habit of just focusing in and shooting at one or two models, which can really mitigate the DPS that they can do. But if you're shooting from two different directions, all of the throwing axes are falling all over the unit, and it spreads out the DPS a little more efficiently. Especially against a faction that does not have healing, you know. Against factions that do have healing, you just kind of want to actually kill the models outright. But kite the Infernal Ironsworn off of the point even, which is really nice here. He does rally. Blood Shrine can get in here and do good work against the Immortals. Using it for the shock damage, it'll just roll through, kill a few models, and then you can just roll out through the back of the unit and get behind the Marauders, buff their melee attack up, and then sit in combat on top of the Marauders and do really nice damage. Doing it perfectly, exactly like I laid out there. Skarbrand obviously knows what they're doing with the Khornate pressure. Playing very well. Using Marauder Horsemen throwing axes in melee combat, that's honestly a pretty good call. They're great against Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders. The Hobgoblins have god-awful leadership, and your guys actually have a little bit better leadership, and better weapon strength, more importantly. And with Frenzy up, they've got better melee attack as well, so they actually do outright beat these Hobgoblins on their wolves there. So it's very worth using a plurality of the throwing axes in this matchup, and just going after the mobility, not giving Chaos Dowie an inch, is generally the way you want to go about it. You can definitely outmuscle them on objectives, and generally outtrade them in the mobility game. The thing that you really have to watch out for with the Chaos Dowie is stuff like this. The Infernal Guard Fireglaves, once they get set up and start putting some Overwatch fire onto objectives, it can be pretty difficult to push. Magma Cannons are pretty punishing for Khorne. They do excellent damage against Bloodletters, and, you know, the regular Bloodletters and Exalted Bloodletters are very important in this matchup to kill the elite infantry that Chowie do like to bring out. Infernal Ironsworn are excellent against Khorne. And if you can layer up the ranged pressure and the artillery that the Chaos Dowie have access to, all in one nice convenient little package, you can take one objective, you can slow push another, and the idea is you just outgrind Khorne. Because if you try to play multiple objectives in the opening against Khorne as the Chaos Dowie, you're probably going to lose. Khorne is just way too good at getting out cheaper and more efficient mobility than the Chaos Dwarves. So you really gotta use the ranged and the artillery to set up as the hammer to the anvil, so to speak. Can't really use the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders nearly as much. Kadai Fireborn are also really good. That's also worth having in here. You really don't need many Bull Centaur renders. They are kind of a trap here. They lose pretty hard to the Minotaurs that Khorne has. Khorne Minotaurs outright win against Bull Centaurs, which sounds crazy considering the cost of a Bull Centaur at 1,600 versus 1,300 for the Khorne Minotaurs, but it's true. You can go do the test yourself. It's not a good trade for the Bull Centaur renders. So you're better off using your ranged to kill Minotaurs. You know, Deathshrieker rockets, Fire Glaives, Blunderbusses are pretty good to mix in here. Chaos Dwarf Blunderbuss can do some nasty work against the forces of the Blood God. All of that to say, though, if you're bringing Gunline for the Chaos Dwarves, you are going to have to worry a lot about the mobility that Khorne has access to. Furies are pretty good against all of those targets that I just brought up. The throwing axes are excellent against most of those targets. They don't want to get shot by those targets, obviously, but if they do get into melee combat, they do have good enough stats in melee with the bonus versus infantry, weapon strength, and charge bonus that they can trade pretty well into Blunderbusses, maybe not Fire Glaives quite as much, but, you know, they can still do damage against Fire Glaives for sure. And, you know, they can also get some good effect against the Chowie mobility, as you saw. They certainly helped crush off the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders here. I do like the build by Nipes. We're going to go with Nipes. I like the, it rolls off the tongue really nicely. Until Nipes gets in here and tells me what the actual pronunciation is, that's what we're going to roll with. I just don't think that Bull Centaur renders are good in this matchup. Maybe you can mix one in, but I would just cut this. I would cut both of these guys, bring one Kadai Fireborn, and Iron Demon. Iron Demon did pretty good. You can bring an Iron Demon for sure. But cut the Bull Centaurs, bring one Kadai, that's 400 gold less that you're paying for. I don't think you need the Immortals. They're great in theory, but I think that they're lacking a little bit of... they're just a little too slow. Khorne Bloodletters will kite them out, and won't give you an opportunity to fight the best opportunity target that the Immortals want to fight, which is the Bloodletters. You just run away with your Bloodletters, you never give these guys a target, and then they just get killed by throwing axes. It's kind of what was going on. They did get a little bit of value, for sure, but a lot of that was feeding Marauders into them, just so that the throwing axes could get some DPS on the rear of the formation. So you can probably cut all three of these units, bring one Kadai Fireborn, bring a Magma Cannon, or a Deathshrieker. Deathshrieker probably more consistent. Deathshrieker can focus down the Minotaurs and Valkia. They can act oh my god. The Deathshrieker can actually hit Valkia pretty efficiently. So it's worth having one in here. And you can kind of bait Khorne to overextend potentially to get after that Deathshriek. Khorne hates being at any kind of disadvantage to artillery. And if your opponent starts trying to push a little too aggressively to kill the Deathshriek rocket, at that point, that's when you bring in your mobility. The Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders can get side charges on the Furies. They can get after the Flesh Hounds. They can, you know, they can stop up Minotaurs while shooting helps deal with them. I think you just need a little bit. You just need one artillery piece and a couple more ranged units, one more fire glaive, or a couple of blunderbusses, and I think that is probably the best build against Khorne. That particular core that I'm laying out. I'll just go build it instead of just talking about it. Why don't I just kind of show you what I think is pretty good against Khorne? As a Khorne player, this is what I don't like seeing for the Chaos Dowey. I like Astragoth here. Very cheap and efficient option. Burning Wrath is absolutely filthy against the throwing axes, and it's really good against Bloodletters. Overcast this, and you'll do some nasty work against Khorne. Get rid of Killing Fire, it's not very good. Mechanical Overdrive is nice, but just to save on cost here, we're going to cut it. Chaos Dowey get real expensive really quick. So let's see. Goblin Laborers are a bad idea. I don't think you should feed Khorne army abilities ever, if you can avoid it. I do like the triple Great Weapon Warrior here. They trade upwards into Chaos Warriors of Khorne. Artillery isn't good on that map. Yeah, the spawn points are in a forest, but here's the thing about that. All you have to do is push up to the edge of the forest, and what you do, you get a clear line of fire out of the forest, and when Khorne sends throwing axes in, as long as you're in the forest, enemy units fire more inaccurately into the forest. As well as every now and then a shot gets stopped by a tree. But, you know, as an artillery piece, you got to get up at the edge where you're not going to have a lot of tree cover. But just being at the edge of the forest, you get more inaccurate fire from throwing axes and enemy ranged units. It's very important to have good positioning in this game and to take maximum advantage of terrain. That's one very easy instance where you can do that. I actually think that's the perfect map to bring a artillery piece on. It is annoying to move the artillery piece up, but once it's in position, it's going to be in a really nice spot. So you can bring the Magma Cannon, or you can bring the Death Shriek. Honestly, on that map, I think the Magma Cannon is better. Just because there's not really anywhere to set up shot blocking for the Death Shriek. You know, there's not really any terrain pieces other than the I guess there is that the home objective and that big shot blocker, but Khorne doesn't really have artillery that you have to worry about, so you can just get up in the forest with this Magma Cannon. Make sure to bring Hellbound because it gives the magical attacks and perfect vigor, as well as a little bit of physical resist to resist the throwing axes a little better. And you can go with something like this. You don't want to give chaff for Khorne to farm army abilities off of, because you're going to put yourself in a huge hole by doing that. Khorne army abilities are such a force multiplier, you never want to allow that to happen. What else could you mix in here? Honestly, I don't hate Hobgoblin Archers. They can push up, they've got good range, they can push back throwing axes, and just help support this very heavy metal front line. And like I said, what you do... Let's actually go to the Decrepit Moor. What you do is you go cap your home objective, which would be about here or here. And then you push up onto the objective that's out in the middle of the field here. Once the artillery is set up, you know, you set up in the forest, probably around back here, and you can fire onto your home objective, you can fire onto this objective, and you can push from that point. And it's free real estate at that point, because Khorne struggles when it's at a range disadvantage, which is pretty much always, and against some factions, it's more punishing than against everybody else. 2 Fire Glaives is a good call. Bring in a Kadai. Like I said, they're really good. A couple of the Wolf Raiders. Wolf Raider bows aren't bad. They're also good at pressuring the mobility core of Khorne. They have good speed. They can usually stay away from them pretty efficiently. I like having a Sneaky Git in reserve. The precursor missiles do quite a bit of damage. And, you know, Khorne has lots of lightly armored harass elements. So the Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits can actually get in there and nail Fleshhounds with these precursor missiles, which do also imbue poison, and having poison passively on the melee attacks as well, you can slow up that Khorne pressure pretty effectively. You don't need more than one, maybe two. That's about it. What else do you bring here? Bale Taurus isn't bad. It can fight Valkia decently efficiently. Not the best use of this little monster, though. I don't know what you bring from here. I think at this point, I would just say you can probably mix in like a Torok or, I'd leave it up to you. This 1950, consider this your flex fund. You know, Iron Demon wouldn't be bad to mix in here with the Hellbound, maybe something else. But, you know, something along these lines. This is the absolute essentials for this. This is. The Hobgoblin Archers are, you know, bring them if you want kind of thing. I think they'd be pretty good. But here's your core. And I think this can perform pretty well against the Blood God. So, yeah. Enough talking about that. Let's get in and talk about the next matchup. So, we've done these two. Empire versus Lizards here. Son of Heaven versus Huntress Himbo. One of the names of all time. Oh, what is this? A gold wizard? Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Pretty interesting build coming in from Son of Heaven here. I kind of like it, though. It's pretty interesting, for sure. Oh, come on, please. Okay. We're not going to crash. Don't worry about it. We love our names out here. It's pretty incredible. Welcome, welcome, guys. We're going through the new player tournament replays right now. And we've had some pretty good games here. Definitely getting an opportunity to talk about some of the finer points of domination mode. And, you know, I love the experimental builds, but not every experiment is worth, you know, sticking with, you know. That's the whole point of doing it. We got a good example of that in the last match with the Chowie. Gold Wizard coming out with Searing Doom and Final Transmutation. Searing Doom is very underrated as one of the best spells in the game, in my opinion. We've got some Outriders here. Oh, they're getting smacked up by the Chameleon Skinks here. Oh my goodness. Pretty nasty damage in the opening here for Huntress Himbo. These Outriders just need to run. I mean, they do not need to be skirmishing with Chameleon Skinks. They do not have any kind of an advantage here, and they get punished pretty hard. That's a very expensive missile piece to use. They're very beat up at this point. They've lost a lot of their models. They're still pretty functional. If they do rally, probably going to be able to get a little bit of value out of them. Oh man, the Gold Wizard getting punished by the Chameleon Skinks as well. Huntress Himbo with good targeting here. Making sure not to let anything get in and out for free, man. You got to be careful with these casters, you know. Against players that know what they're doing, they can certainly get pounded, just like this guy did. Does he have a cool little gold mask on? I've never actually seen this model in-game, funnily enough. Yeah, he does. He's got like a bearded one, too. Oh my goodness. Very cool stuff. Gold Wizards and Balthazar Gelt are pretty sick. Very fun unit. Empire Knights moving up. This is what you should have just waited on, Son of Heaven. If you're watching this, the Outriders and the Gold Wizards taking all this damage was completely unnecessary. Yeah, your opponent's going to cap this objective, but you just move up the Empire Knight and your opponent has to play honestly at that point. Chameleon Skinks are running, as you can see, and you're going to cap this objective for free now. You know, you could have saved all of that damage that you took on the Outriders and the Gold Wizard and just, you know, saved yourself the headache and just use the Empire Knights to slow push it. You know, it's worth giving up objectives every now and then. You don't have to control every objective to be winning. You technically, honestly, you don't even need to be capping 2 objectives to be winning. Yeah, you aren't getting the advantage in victory tickets, but you can trade a little bit more efficiently holding on to 1 objective. Hunter's Himbo got a little bit of value in the early game. Few tickets, capping the number 3 here. And is, you know, just going to keep this pressure up. The Colossadon Hunters here are available to stop the Empire Knight charge. And the Red-Crested Skinks, Saurus Warriors, all of these very efficient infantry options for the Lizardmen are going to push off these Empire Knights, or not Empire Knights, but the Empire State Troopers here. If given an opportunity, which they probably will get. The Master Engineer is one of the most broken tools in the game, and really should be rolling through all of the infantry here, because these state troopers are going to lose really badly in these combats. Saurus Warriors are absolutely just disgustingly good against Empire. They hold all day, and they just beat state trooper after state trooper. It is just a massacre, man. You do want to make sure that you get your infantry not bunched up like this. When you've got as many infantry as you do here, Pigeon Bombs blowing up their own guys. Pretty funny stuff there. A little bit of Empire treachery against their own units there. But when you've got this many infantry targets, infantry units, I mean, it's worth kind of spreading them out to surround. Either that, or you just kind of leave guys in reserve, because then you can respond to pressure like this, where the Empire Knights, they just kind of came, I think they came from over here, if not, they came up the middle, and they just jumped on top of a really nice target in the Skink cohort. Instead of having, you know, 3 infantry units blobbed up on this 1 state trooper that's gonna lose to just 1 of these units, you just have both of these guys back, 1 to defend the flank, 1 to defend this middle so that the push can't happen from up here. And then you can use the Skink Skirmishers to fire onto the Silver Bullets back here. That would be a great use out of these Skink cohorts, honestly. Master Engineer getting a lot of value. He hasn't even been doing much. Just firing the grenade launcher and the cannon, and he's up to 1300 value. I think this unit is just busted, in my opinion. The grenade launcher is so strong. I mean, look how much damage it did there. It killed, like, it just did an obnoxious amount of damage against the Sauruses. Sauruses are a bit of an exception in that they have 10,000 HP. So they can actually take that on the nose and not lose a ton of models. But if you have... Here, we'll watch it in a minute. The Coldwind Spear Riders you think are going to be really good against something like the Steam Tank here, but they really do not trade very efficiently into the Master Engineer. The grenade launcher just fires directly on top of the Spear Riders who are stabbing them in melee, and just outright kills models and does obscene amounts of damage that the Master Engineer just cackles and drives away from eventually. And then you can drop Pigeon Bombs on top of your enemy's anti-large cavalry. You can just do so many disgusting things with this piece. I ban it in my tournaments. I think the other Steam Tanks are balanced. They're very expensive like they should be. This guy is just too much in one package, in my opinion. They should just get rid of the grenade launcher and give him like a sniper rifle. I think that would be a lot more balanced. He'd be really good at sniping at single targets at ranged. And he's still got the cannon to fire at Spear Riders and the like, but won't just be so incredibly powerful. But Son of Heaven is really grinding back in here. Doing a good job of preserving the Silver Bullets and handguns here. The Silver Bullets beat up, but another handgun out here. Getting some nice value firing in here. Killing the Skink Priest of Heavens, man, and that was a fat final transmutation that y'all saw. Hitting just an absolute horde of lizards here. Really punishing that blob. Another reason why you want to spread out. Final Transmutation isn't quite as good against infantry as it is against single entities, but does nevertheless do pretty nasty damage. Where's the Gold Wizard now? Did he blow himself up with that cast? He was really low, so he might have. I think the Gold Wizard just exploded people. Might have just blown himself up for that glorious cast, which has put the Empire in a bit of a value lead now. You have the Colossedon Hunters, who really haven't had a lot of targets. Cold One Riders getting punished really hard by the Empire, shooting Pistoliers and Free Company Militia, handguns, lots of shooting. And the Outriders, how are they doing now? They're trading pretty efficiently now. They'd be doing even better, like I said, if they hadn't gotten so beat up on this objective by the Chameleon Skinks in the opening. So, you know. Remember what your units can and can't do. Outriders cannot trade efficiently into Chameleon Skinks at ranged. And yeah, I think the Steam Tank is just going to take over. You can see the grenade launcher nailing the Cold Wind Spear Riders on the way in. We'll watch this guy in action. This is going to be a bit of a example in motion, so to speak, of just how strong this guy is. 332 kills, 2,600 value. And really hasn't been used as efficiently as he possibly could be. So the power level of this unit is just absolutely buffoonish. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Pigeon Bomb's going to come in and obliterate all of these units that are blobbed up on him now. And, yeah. Oh my god. Oh no! Oh, nasty work against the Spear Riders and the Red-Crested Skinks. Their leadership is starting to drop. They're probably going to get terror-ratted by this thing as well, which is going to suck, man. You really don't want your infantry as Lizardmen to be routing. Sigmar's Sons coming in here in the fourth quarter, helping out their commander here on the tank. He's helping them out in turn by clearing up the Saurus Warriors and the Red-Crested Skinks, who the Sigmar Sons, you know, would struggle against in a vacuum, obviously. Just as good as their combat stats are, the weapon strength against the really low armor is just a little too overwhelming. But Empire just swarming all over the number 3. Gonna be taking that. Number 2 is held by the Empire. Number 1 is still held by the Lizards, but we've got a Spearman over here. They'll probably beat the cohort and then cap the number 1. And I think the Lizards just got a little too blobbed up here in the middle. You know, taking a very narrow engagement against the Steam Tank Commander, who's just been rolling through all of these infantry at this point, is painful. Really, really painful. Lizard Sisters, I don't feel so good. I don't either, man. Son of Heaven making great effect out of the Master Engineer, who is just so dependable and reliable. Honestly, if you're not getting a 4,000 value with this guy, you're basically throwing. Like I said, I ban it. I don't think the Master Engineer on the Steam Tank is balanced in any way whatsoever. It's even worse if the Empire player brings heals. And there were no heals. There was just a Gold Wizard who dropped a pretty fat Final Transmutation. Yeah, but if you want to play really efficiently with a Master Engineer, you bring Regrowth and you just cast it on him all game, and your Lord never dies. He gets you 5,000 value, and you win. It's basically what happens. It's a little different if there's enemy SCs that can answer him. Razor Dawns would have been really nice earlier in the game, but it's a little too late to be bringing Razor Dawns out. I think if they had been your first summon, once you saw the Master Engineer, that would have been a little more effective, because they can certainly do good armor-piercing damage against this guy. They can also counterfire Empire Knights as needed, but it's just tricky, man. I mean, it's hard to kill this guy. He's unbreakable, too. There's so many things going in that unit's favor. Empire is just slowly grinding down all of the Lizard infantry here. And the point totals are pretty close on tickets, but the triple cap is in for the Empire at this stage. Son of Heaven did a great job of rallying from pretty messy early engagement. And Huntress Himbo didn't quite get the surrounds needed. If the Silver Bullets and the Handgunners and Free Company had been shut down and counter-fired by the Skink Cohort a little more efficiently and not gotten blobbed up for that final transmutation here in the middle, I think the Lizards would be a little bit more in this game here. It's kind of difficult to say, but generally what you want to do, if there is a Master Engineer on the Steam Tank, you just ignore him. You do your best to try and block him up with mass and maybe send like a cheap SE that can kind of do some damage to him and just pressure and harass him. And just try and kill the rest of the Empire army. There is no point in trying to kill this guy. Huge HP pull, unbreakable, missile that fires at 380 range. He's got the grenade launcher, which kills everything around him, which I think has unlimited ammunition, by the way. Don't quote me on that, but nothing I've seen dispels me of that notion. I do believe that it just fires infinitely. There are a couple of units that are like that, where they have the infinite ammo on one of their alternate missiles. And yeah, Empire's going to grind through all of these Saurus warriors at this point. Master Engineer, doing his thing, man. Just being a big mustachioed bastard here, man. That's all he is. Look at him. Look at this sneering imperialist, man. And look, he's got like a little holster with weapons back here. I don't think the grenade launcher is very balanced. I really think you could get rid of that and bring a or put a sniper rifle on him, and it'd be a little better. The grenade launcher is just too powerful against cavalry, anti-large cavalry. This guy should just have something that counters him, and he really doesn't. That's my biggest gripe. I'm going to complain about it until CA changes it. Outrider fire is just absolutely filthy right now. 1100 value on these Outriders. Son of Heaven doing the Empire proud today. Zentler's Reichsguard charging down the red-crested skinks to bail out the Grundle's defenders here. Pretty good inclusion. I like those guys. They're, really good in this matchup because, lots of artillery, obviously. They actually do give the Fizz Resist to the Master Engineer on the Steam Tank, too. So, just a little bit of synergy going on there. Empire Knights, 233 kills, 1,000 value. We've got some more Coldwind Spear Riders coming out, trying to get on the Outriders, but, dropping the micro. But, yeah. Taking the bait and going after the Master Engineer here. Not the best call. Just keep going after the Outriders. As long as these guys are moving, they can't fire in a 360 arc. So, they're not getting the AP missiles out if they're running away. That's kind of how you deal with Outriders. They'll outpace most units that are chasing them, but, I don't know. How would I balance it? I don't know, man. The Master Engineer should get a sniper rifle and not this grenade launcher. Because he'll fire this grenade launcher from here into units that are in contact with him. And just, like, kill 2 or 3 models at a time. He beats anti-large cavalry, which I feel like should be his counter. Like, he's got a bonus versus infantry. These guys are a large target. Why does he perform so egregiously well against units of that type? Just anything to make him less effective against his counter units. Give him a sniper rifle, like a non-piercing sniper rifle that he can use to, like, shoot at SEs at, like 150 meter range. I think that would be much more balanced than the current grenade launcher. But yeah, decent value on a lot of the Lizard units. Tic-Tac-Toe, I love Tic-Tac-Toe to death, but he's just not that good. He kind of struggles at times. He is incredibly cheap, though, I will say, so you can go really wide with the Lizard builds, but you need some mass in this army here. You cannot kill the Master Engineer, don't try, but you do need mass to stop him from just running through your front line. And you use the, you use your superior numbers and superior infantry to kill all the state troopers, and then just make it an absolute chore for the Empire to grind back onto the objectives. It's easier said than done, but it can work. It very much can. You do kind of have to do it when you see the Master Engineer out on the field. Pretty good value on the Gold Wizard. That's pretty much from like one final transmutation. A couple of Searing Dooms missed, but that one cast was pretty much all you needed. Shouldn't be able to shoot the grenade launcher at close range. That's the other option. But, I mean, the bones of the unit are just crazy to begin with, so. Let's jump into another one. Oh, man. Oh, yes. Oh, this is going to be a good match. We've got Skarbrand and Son of Heaven matching up here. We've got, War Wagon build with the Age, or the Wonder of the Age, for the Empire here. Coming out onto the field. Gonna be facing off against an Exalted Bloodletter. And Karanak here. Karanak is pretty good against Empire. Kinda needed, because if your opponent brings the Steam Tank Commander with the heals, you really need Karanak to go kill that heal caster, because there's nothing worse than a Steam Tank with heals. That's another thing. I think that Steam Tanks just should not get healed by life magic. I mean, it's a freaking tank. My headcanon is that it's the tank taking damage. Why does it matter if the tank is broken and destroyed, then the crew is basically dead, you know? I mean, we're going to talk about some historical stuff just for like 2 seconds. In World War II, most tank kills were not blown up. They were, like, tracked or mobility killed. And at that point, it's basically useless. It's just a gun platform that can't do anything. You know? You can just drive away from it, not do anything against it. So, like, with the Empire Steam Tanks, they don't need to have... They shouldn't get immobilized in any way, because that's just shitty and it kind of feels bad. But they definitely should not get healed by life magic, because functionally, if you're thinking about it from a gameplay perspective, you're damaging the tank. You're not damaging the crew. You know, so casting a regrowth on a tank, what the fuck are you regrowing? I don't get it. I think that they should have, like, heal, like, very small heal abilities on the engineers. And I think that would be a little bit better for everybody. Wonder of the Age, man. Or yeah, the Wonder of the Age. Coming in here, dropping some hot fire with the mortar on the front. Getting some good damage on the Marauders there. Getting a little close up on that mortar shot. Man, these guys are going to do some nasty work. The Wonder of the Age is really good. This is a lot more balanced of a unit, too. Balthazar Gelt gets caught by Prey of the Blood God. Oh my goodness. He's got way too far up here. He's going to take some disgusting work from the Exalted Bloodthirster. Yeah, there we go. Popping Deathbringer, man. He's going to obliterate this poor guy. Oh my goodness. Come on, Balthazar. You got to get out of there now. Just a couple of swings and he's basically dead. He should rally. And he is much faster than the Exalted Bloodthirster. Karanak running in behind. Man, what is Karanak going to do now? I mean, Karanak's job is kind of over at this point. Just chase down these huntsmen, I guess. Yeah, that's a good call. Skarbrand doing it the right way. Using Karanak to get a good snare early on Balthazar, and then, you know, getting on top of the counter unit and just starting the damage. Karanak's really nice. Really good against lightly armored stuff. Crazy weapon strength. I mean, 638 is pretty nuts, honestly. Certainly can do some pretty good work. And we've got the War Wagons rolling around out here. They're poking at the Khorne Marauders. The Chaos Warrior Halberds would be the best target for the War Wagons right now. Shooting at the Shielded Marauders is a bit of a waste of time. You could just maneuver these guys over here. set it behind the spearmen. Spearmen can push up just a little bit farther. And shoot the halberds. Halberds are going to hate getting shot at by the war wagons there. Really nice catch here. The White Wolves do get spotted by Karanak, and then chased down and obliterated by the Chaos Warhounds. About 650 value on those guys. Pretty nice final transmutation. Hitting Karanak and the Exalted Bloodthirster, but the spell resistance is pretty meaty on Khorne, so final transmutation not doing quite as much as it otherwise would. Karanak also just has 50% spell resist, so he's very hard to remove. Outside of melee combat, it's pretty difficult to deal with. Wonder of the Age continuing the fire here. Getting some mortar shots on Minotaurs. Obviously doing a little bit of damage here. And what else is firing there? Cannon in the front? Yeah, the cannon in the front is firing in as well. You don't see this thing often. This is a very fun unit. I love the inclusion of it. It's got this abandoned ship ability where it explodes once it dies. It does a lot of damage in a tiny little radius around it. 12 meters isn't that much, but isn't nothing. And Balthazar Gelt gets hit by another player of the Blood God there, and very unceremoniously is, you know, plummets to his death, falling from like 100 feet, and just smacking into the ground like a ripe watermelon. You hate to see it, man. Chaos Warhounds in the back here, intercepting some Free Company militia. This is what you kind of want to do with Khorne mobility. That Skarbrand has been doing very well, is intercepting reinforcements. You know, maybe you won't always outright win the frontline fight in the first engagement, but if you intercept reinforcements like Skarbrand is doing with Khorne, you'll eventually overwhelm your opponent. It's not inevitable, because there's obviously counterplay to that. Knights of the Black Rose are a very good call-in. They're going to do very well against the Furies and the Warhounds if given a chance. We've got Empire Knights coming out to intercept the Warhounds, who are going to take some pretty serious shock damage here. Although it does look like Empire Knights, yeah, now they're getting their full attack order on those guys. Trying to save the Outrider grenade launchers. And Son of Heaven doing a good job of pulling these guys up into the spears. Getting them a little bit of buffering, but Furies and Hounds just have amazing melee attack and weapon strength to really just chew through those things. War Wagons getting a little bit of work done, but they're really heavily armored, so Furies are a bit of a waste on those guys. Furies back up in the air and maybe going after the rear of the Spearmen here would be the best call. The Minotaurs are here as well. They can help fight the Knights of the Black Rose while the Furies start getting good rear charges on the Spearmen and pressuring them and breaking those guys. Balthazar dealt with. Exactly, man. Exactly. That's what you gotta do. Oh my god. And the Wonder of the Age must have been fighting the Minotaurs or something. What the hell's beating the shit out of this thing? Oh my god. Halberds? What are the Halberds up to here? They're not doing anything. These Halberds really aren't doing anything. I guess the Bloodthirster getting a lot of value with Karanak and maybe some for the Minotaurs. What the? Why is this ship so beat up? I completely blanked on it, fellas. I have no idea how it is basically dead at this point. What damaged it? What did I miss? Anyways, we've got Khorne Halberds folding into the front line, and they're very healthy. They're doing some really nice work against the Empire State Troopers. These guys have 41 melee attack with Frenzy up, so they're basically as strong as any baseline frontline infantry in terms of melee attack, on top of having a disgusting bonus versus large. So it's a pretty good idea to fold a couple of them in some of these matchups where enemy cavalry and infantry can tend to be a little lackluster. Okay, Balthazar Gelt died again. I think this replay might be bugged is what's going on here. I'm not 100% sure what is going on right now. We've got We've got Zinchian trickery happening in here. Khorne is not going to be happy about it. But, yeah. The way the replay files work is it's actually just like a list of moves. So, sometimes it does not respond well once it's downloaded and off of the original file. I don't know what it is about it, but we're getting most of the effect of the game, and we're getting to see a little bit of the replay jank, which is very funny. If you ever send me a replay and I don't cast it, usually that's because that's what's going on. The replay is just like wonky, and evidently so, because we just watched Balthazar Gelt die 2 times, and maybe he was resummoned? Did he seriously get resummoned and killed that fast by the Bloodthirster? Guys, I'm losing my mind here. This Bloodthirster is just absolutely bodying old Balthazar Gelt out here. So, replay is fine. I'm completely losing my mind out here. We're watching one of the wildest games I've ever seen. We've got the throwing axes. It blows up the Wonder of the Age, which immediately obliterates its own halberdiers who are standing underneath it, guys. Oh my god. Disgusting damage. These guys are probably going to break. If they get into melee contact, they're instantly going to rout out. So, we love to see it. Skarbrand's doing a really good job of grinding down the front line and doing a pretty good job of pressuring the back and killing Balthazar Gelt 2 times that quickly with the Bloodthirster. Oh my god. Hilarious stuff. Well played, Son of Heaven. This build wasn't it, unfortunately. The Wonder of the Age, I do like it, but Balthazar Gelt with his magic kit, the spell resistance on Khorne is 35%. That is a lot. It's a lot. You're better off bringing the Lifecaster. It's going to be more consistent. It's healing up your centerpiece unit. It can drop Earthbloods to keep your State Troopers a little healthier. That really is the best thing to bring. Damage spells are not the way to go against Khorne. Unless you've got something like the Tzeentch with Curse of Catan, which gives, you know, like 66% spell mastery to nullify the spell resistance, there's no point bringing damage spells. You might as well bring support stuff instead. But yeah. Balthazar didn't get a chance to see the light 2 times. I don't know, I think he did see the light. I think he's died twice over, like actually just dead. You know, but you know, Emperor Karl Franz will be resurrecting him. Empire, are they dabbling in necromancy? Question mark. YouTube story time coming up next. We're gonna start our own InfoWars type channel just to spread Warhammer misinformation. Pretty good value on a lot of the Empire stuff, but man, oh man, this is Exalted Bloodthirster. Good use out of the Prey of the Blood God too, man. How did you kill the second one so fast? I'm telling you, Exalted Bloodthirster with Deathbringer, it's, I'll go show it to you. We'll go take a quick peek at this, because Deathbringer, you know, Valkia is the best option for Khorne. She's just so reliable. She's got Sleipnir and Demon Shield, which are just absolutely absurd abilities. Borderline broken, but, you know, Khorne having some very glaring weaknesses kind of covers up for the fact that Valkia is so good. But the Exalted Bloodthirster is very viable, too, because Deathbringer is 50% weapon strength for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is a long time, guys, in this game. That's more than enough time to absolutely wail on something. And with 580 weapon strength, let me do the quick maths. He's going to get up to 870 weapon strength with Deathbringer popped. And Balthazar Gelt only has 4,000 HP, so you're talking about 2 swings, takes out 600 health on him. Absolutely brutal. Khorne Minos are trash, never use them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that Khorne is usually at a range deficit. Your best unit for countering, like, your range deficit is Skull Cannons. and situationally the throwing axes. Throwing axes you should not think of as a ranged unit. You should think of them as a mobile harass cav that does have a ranged attack in the right circumstance. You know, they only have 12 ammo, and they'll use it up pretty quick. And against the wrong type of target, you'll just be wasting your time throwing in against shielded infantry. They're really good at answering SEs and other monstrous infantry units. And cavalry, that's the best targets for them. But, you know, Khorne is pretty much always having to play aggressively because you don't get to trade for free at long range. That's what I mean by Khorne having some glaring weaknesses in the army. Also, here's another big weakness that Khorne has. One of the things that holds Khorne back. Your flying SEs are obscenely expensive. I mean, 2,000 gold for a Bloodthirster. These guys are pretty decent. I don't think they're garbage like a lot of people say they are, but they are certainly situational. They are better off not out on the field than available. So really you're relying on Valkia to be your hard-hitting aerial damage dealer. And all she's got to support are Furies at that point. Khorne would benefit greatly from having like a Manticore type unit that can go in and cost-effectively fight other SEs and, you know, like countercharge monstrous infantry. Give a little bit more battlefield presence with some, you know, more targeted damage that isn't in a 2,000 gold package. That is a huge target and, you know, just very vulnerable to missiles. That's the problem with Bloodthirsters. They're just pincushions, man. You'd probably see them a little more if they had like 20% missile resist. I think that'd be a pretty nice way to balance them. They wouldn't be broken. They'd still be worth shooting at range. And I don't know. It's just an idea. I think that would be very necessary for these guys. They're just a little lackluster. Your opponent has to go really deep into extremely expensive SEs and monstrous infantry to make the Bloodthirster worth it. The matchups where I think this guy is good, like not just usable but outright good, is Lizardmen, Tzeentch, funnily enough, because Tzeentch has the big chickens in the sky, as well as Changebringers, Screamers, you know, Furies, Doom Knights, lots of aerial stuff that these guys get to fight. And these guys do pretty well against Screamers. Screamers have low enough weapon strength and DPS that the Bloodthirster can beat them pretty handily. It's worth bringing against Tzeentch every now and then. And what's the other matchup that I'm thinking of? Ogre Kingdoms. Bloodthirsters are great against Ogre Kingdoms because, you know, they are very vulnerable to the shooting, obviously, but they are very quick. They can dodge the missiles pretty efficiently if they get on top of the targets that they want to attack, like lead belchers, man-eaters with pistols and stuff like that, and get a little bit of Fury support. Then you can actually effectively deal with the Ogre Kingdoms units. Because Ogre Kingdoms otherwise have a pretty favorable matchup against Khorne. Because lead belchers just obliterate your infantry. It's pretty tough at times, you know. But that's enough about that. Just a little bit of stuff to think about, guys, you know. Another begin. Khorne versus Empire 2. Oh, is this a, oh, y'all played a best of 3? Is this semis or finals that we're doing here? Really? Balthazar did necromancy during the end times? So there you go. You've heard it here first, folks. Empire Evil confirmed. Oh, this is the same match we just watched. I don't know what I'm talking about. My goodness. So yeah, we did watch Son of Heaven and Skarbrand play these 2 games already. So this is a best of 3, I guess. And we've got a 1-1. Do we have a 1-1? I gotta go back, guys. I've been talking so much, and I'm still so sleep deprived. I was up late last night. So certainly not my finest stream, but we're gonna push through here. Oh, it is just another game. Is this the same game, but in here twice somehow? I guess it is. I must have saved this twice on accident. That's what I'm tripping up on. Good grief. Okay. So yeah, Skarbrand versus Incognito. This is the finals match that we're all looking forward to. Incognito's a really good player, and we've been watching a lot of Skarbrand's games. Didn't get a ton of replays from folks, so not getting to cover quite as much of the new player tournament as I would like. For those of y'all playing in them, get your fellow gamers to send me the replays. I want to cast them. I want to cast them. I love casting replays, especially love casting new player replays, because I love seeing the builds y'all bring, and y'all are good players, you know. And I love giving advice where y'all need to like button up the micro and just like some macro tips to consider, you know. Reading up and watching replays is how I got better, so I want to pass it along to you guys now. Carronade's out here for the Vampire Coast. I love the inclusion of just like a single Carronade against Khorne. You know, it just provides a lot of incentive for Khorne to push and overextend. And you can punish Khorne overextending pretty hard in the right circumstances. So I do like having a Carronade. We've got the Necrofex Colossus. A little vulnerable against Valkia for sure, but, you know, Count Noctilus is okay in melee combat. And he's obviously going to be able to heal himself, so it's not bad bringing him on this. You can see he's doing some pretty effective damage against the infantry here with those shotgun cannons, man. Necrofexes. One of the coolest models in the game. Bit of a limp-wristed sound effect on the cannon, though, I will have to say. The gunnery mobs firing in on the dual-weapon Marauders here, doing some nice work in the early going. Not a tremendous amount of damage, but yeah, don't stop here. If your opponent is shooting at these guys, okay, that's another good decision. Falling back is not a bad idea either. You get the shielded warriors in front, and they take some of that damage on the nose, and they tie these guys up, and then the dual weapons can move up a little bit more independently. This is a bit risky to go that deep in with Valkia right now, because she has pretty low mass. If she gets trapped up by these zombies, then the Bloody Reaver Deck Guard can actually beat the crap out of her. These guys are absolutely obscene in melee, man. If you missed it yesterday, we watched a replay where one regular Depth Guard with Polearm got 4,000 value and absolutely carried a game against Norska for the Vampire Coast. It was absolutely insane, man. Furies kill the Carronade for free. You've got to protect your artillery if you're going to bring it. Like, this would be a great target to just countercharge with some Scurvy Dogs. You know? You leave like a zombie polearm on top of the cannon crew itself, because the cannons will shoot out of the formation. They won't get obstructed by that as long as they're lined up where the formation isn't like covering the cannon. And then the Furies don't have any free access to land. And then the Scurvy Dogs just come out of the, they just come out of the nearest Vanguard. It's right here, and there's another summon here. And they just get on top of the Furies, and you got 650 free gold value. It's the best way to see that. Gonna see that 4K value here again. Dude, I'm telling you, Depth Guard with polearms are pretty crazy. They are a nutty unit. That was really good Sleipnir out here. I did see that. Good job, Skarbrand. That's how you use Sleipnir. It's really good for peeling through lightly armored infantry and giving your infantry the opportunity to get through the front line quicker. Because if you can get through the front line really quick with your infantry, you can start blocking up reinforcements, you can start getting on missile units, and just introducing absolute pandemonium to the battlefield. Minotaurs doing their thing, just absolutely wrecking the Lamprey's Revenge out here. We gotta stop it. We gotta stop for a minute. Vampire Coast, the build is great. But the macro decisions, as well as some of the questionable micro, is really letting you down here. Gotta defend the Carronade, that's first and foremost. One deckhand mob or polearm. I think the polearm would be a little bit better just because the polearm can also fend off the flesh hounds and do it effectively. And against Furies, you just summon in some of the scurvy dogs to countercharge them. You know, get 650 free gold, like I've been saying. And, you know, if you're going to bring a gun line, you got to be prepared for these Furies to come and land. Lamprey's Revenge, they're a great unit, but they can't get overextended into all of this. This is just way too much for even a unit as elite as the Lamprey's Revenge to deal with. So you got to be mindful. They need zombie deckhand mobs underneath them. If they just were fighting on top of these deckhand mobs here, they would still be alive. They would be doing some pretty nasty work too. They've got regen, so you want to keep them on the field as long as possible. Bloody Reaver Deck Guard over here doing some work. Deckhand mobs with polearms getting worked down. Sword of Khorne coming in the early going. You love to see it. Gonna nail these depth guard, but doesn't do a ton of damage. They're a pretty low entity unit, and there's a limit to how much damage the Sword of Khorne can do to individual targets. You know, it's 72 damage with 33% of it being AP. It's actually much better against lightly armored stuff than it is against the heavily armored units. Oh man, the Depth Guard holding in here with the Night Terrors. This is going to be a pretty nice little blob fight for the Vampire Coast for sure. But losing the Lamprey's Revenge out here, and yeah, Skarbrand recognizing the opportunity to get up on the #1 there, sending the using the drawing order tool, which I do kind of like. The thing, I wish this worked better, because what happens if you do the little shift draw command, your unit gets to the areas where it's like curved, and they usually don't follow the path smoothly. They'll like stop and start, and they'll just kind of like drift over there slowly, which is very annoying. I wish they would do something to fix that draw tool up, because it's a really cool idea in theory. I've seen it work in other games too. Ultimate General Civil War, if you've ever played that game, that has a really nice like freeform drawing tool to give orders to your units. Total War has you know, a good idea there. They just need to implement it a little bit better. Count Noctilus fighting Valkia. She's just gonna beat the crap out of him, but with the Depth Guard here, maybe not as quickly, and we do get the abandoned ship there, as well as an Invo of Nehek on top of old Naki here. The Hard Knock life continues for the Vampire Coast, but we're gonna see. Maybe they can grind a little bit of value back in this game and get back into it. I mean, 6,000 gold value difference, so it is pretty brutal. We've got some scurvy dogs out here fighting against the Furies, who are finally getting dragged down, but they've gotten some pretty decent value, I imagine. Yeah, it's just about paying for themselves. And against Vampire Coast, they peeled the gunnery mobs, who are, you know, a force multiplier in this matchup if left unchecked. So killing them, you don't mind them not quite getting their value if they're outright killing units of these zombie gunnery mobs. Hounds of the Blood Hunt doing their thing. They're munching up on the gunnery mob here. They did some damage against the Night Terrors, proving their prowess. One of the best RORs in the game, and they're going to be They're going to be jumping right on top of this other zombie gunnery mob that's coming out here, and doing some pretty good work against them. Gore Feast is going to keep them in the combat quite a while against these absolutely ridiculously poor melee fighters. I mean, 14 melee attack and 6 melee defense. It's pretty brutal. Oh, and they're right on the deploy zone, so you love to see it. You've got the Hounds of the Blood Hunt stopping up like 700 gold here now. Or 550, right? How much are these guys? Gunnery mobs are 300, so stopping up 600 gold value with a unit that's gotten its value back and is as tattered as it is pretty funny. Oh, and that's going to be game, so that's a pretty quick replay there for the finals. Skarbrand, you just landed and did work, man. Great isolations on the overextended units. Good job getting that Carronade in the early going. And just dragging stuff down, man. Those Bloody Reaver Debt Guard were certainly doing work, but that's a little too much for them to do all at once. There's no way they were going to carry that game back, so better luck next time, Incognito. It's very worth remembering the things that I described in this replay to keep in mind, you know. You gotta be really careful going up against Khorne with a gun line of any kind. Furies are just so good. You know, they're not invincible, though. They're not invincible. You can always deal with Furies. They have pretty poor leadership and really low HP. You get one good rear charge on these guys, and they just crumble out immediately and die. So, yeah. Big props to Skarbrand for winning this tournament, guys. I'm probably going to end the stream here for a little bit. I'm going to go download Space Marine 2. And I'll be jumping into that ASAP, so if you're interested in watching me play through that, come join in, you know, like an hour or two. I'll just be jumping back on. What point do the new players get bumped up to advanced? You can play in advanced tournaments from the get-go. You don't have to play in these new player tournaments. These are just so that newer players can get guaranteed games against people on their same skill level, so that you don't just get, you know, raffle stomped by, you know, somebody like Norexa or Scrambled Egg or me. You know, that really sucks. I know how discouraging it is to join a tournament and you just get games against people that have been playing the game for like years. Oh, once they win the new player, you can't play in the new player tournament once you've won one of these. Oh, yeah. Skarbrand's got it. So, yeah. But, there's no hard and fast rule that you have to play in the new player tournaments as a new player. If you really want to get in there and get, smacked down by the more experienced players, that's always on the table. It's kind of hard to jump into this game and just immediately be good at the multiplayer. There's a few people that have done it, but, you know, there are some questions as to whether they're fully legit players. Where did these Depth Guard with polearms go? What happened to them? They got killed pretty early too, so. But anyways, new player tournaments are limited to people who have not won a leaderboard qualifying event. If you've won a leaderboard event, you can't play in the new player tournaments, and you can't play in intermediate tournaments either. You don't see a lot of intermediate tournaments right now. The tournament scene is not quite as active as it normally is, because it's been a while since the last DLC, and the season's, you know, been going on for a little while now. So people are kind of, you know, just leaning back, taking a bit of a break right now. It'll pick back up once the new DLC comes out. And there will be another, like, multiplayer rush. We'll get lots of new players. We'll get people who haven't played in a while, obviously. And it'll be fun stuff from there. Alright, guys. Y'all take care. I'll be back in an hour, hour 30. Maybe sooner, depending on how long it takes to download. But Space Marine 2 is on the docket. I'm super excited. We're going to be doing campaign first. Later tonight, I've got some stuff to do around 5:30 my time. Once I'm done with that, I'll be doing PvP probably, or finishing campaign, just depending on what I feel up to. So yeah, take care, guys. I'll see y'all in a little bit, maybe.